Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us over your lunch hour today for another one of our WESC webinars. My name is Ali Herndon. I am WESC's Communications Coordinator. I just want to give a big shout out today to today's webinar sponsor, Peter Lucas Project Management. Thank you so much to them. So our topic today is a really exciting one. It's the 3 L's of improving business operations, and it is presented by Amanda DAHL, owner and operator of Boost Consulting. If you have any questions for her as we go through the presentation, please feel free to put them in the Q&A box. There's also a regular chat box, so there's 2 different boxes. If you want to introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about your business, feel free to do that in the regular chat box. And as always, this webinar is being recorded and will be available for on-demand viewing tomorrow. You will receive an email with a link to that. And with that, I am going to stop sharing my screen here and pass it on over to Amanda.
Thank you, Ali. Thanks. Wonderful to see you all. I'm just going to share my screen here. Ali, if you don't mind to just give me a thumbs up or a verbal it works. Perfect. Thank you. Okay, great. Well, I see some familiar names, which is always nice. Love to meet some new people as well. So for those that don't know me, my name is Amanda DAHL, and I am the owner and operator of my own consulting company, Boost Consulting. So before we jump in today, I'd like to think most of you knew the topic when you registered for this, which is improving business operations. Very important conversation, but I do really want to stress that what we talk about today is for anyone. So regardless of what industry you work in, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're not, if you work with a large group of people, or you're just all by yourself like I am, all of this is relevant. All of this hopefully has some takeaway for you or something that you can use going forward. The other thing that I just want to level set a little bit is that this isn't about overhauling what you do now. So it's not about changing everything about the way you work. It's not about making mega change in a short period of time. You can, if you want to, if that works for you. But for most people, that's not realistic. So we'll look at how we incrementally improve our business operations. And it's why my company's name is Boost, is that it's about elevating your successes. It's about layering in on the great things you're already doing and ultimately just boosting your company and your people's experience. Okay, so who am I? Why is Amanda here? How did she get to this point that she's even talking about improving business operations to all of you wonderful, experienced people here today? So I actually started out my career as a geologist about 20 years ago, got a BSc from USask and started my first exploration job with Cameco Corporation. So for those that you know or that know Cameco, it is a mining giant, it is a large company, but I really started to learn a lot of lessons that we'll talk about today. So my first love is rocks, I won't lie, much to my husband's chagrin or my family. I talk about rocks, I live rocks, but I had to move on. I wanted some other experiences, and I was lucky enough to work in the corporate development department at Cameco. I worked for Federated Co-op as well as a corporate and business unit planner. I've done a lot of different project manager jobs, but primarily what we'll talk about today is my experience within the operational excellence department at Cameco. So I took all of that. Why am I telling you that? It's not a brag list, a laundry list of here's all the things Amanda did. I truly believe in diversity of experience. And so even though we're talking today about improving operations, I leverage a lot of other things, a lot of other areas of my experience and a lot of lessons I've learned from other people. So for those of you out there that are entrepreneurs or maybe just have this type of personality, I was always told early on in my career that you need to focus on one thing, you need to specialize, especially in a science-based role, if anyone will take you seriously. So of course, that wasn't for me. I like that diversity, and that's what I want to bring you today, which is really that last bullet point. That's very important to me, is about giving you a nugget of value. You agreed to spend an hour with me. I want to give you something that's realistic, that's tangible, that you can actually implement going forward. So if I don't do that by the end of today, please reach out. I mean, regardless, reach out, but I do want to make your hour valuable. I'm also going to ask you to contribute a couple of times throughout this. So one of the ways that works the best is if you really think about your own business. So as I'm talking away here and we're talking about different concepts, I really invite you to continually try to tie it back to what you do, or start thinking about examples where this could make sense in your own business. Okay. So just a little bit more level setting, and then we'll jump into the content. I just wanted to give a bit of an explanation around why I started a business. So again, for those of you, I believe this audience, you're likely entrepreneurs, or you work in maybe smaller, medium-sized businesses, or you have more flexibility in how you do your work. I wanted to give back. I had the luxury of working for large companies that were process mature, that provided a lot of training. And as I went on, I realized there's a lot of people out there that don't have that luxury, or not in the same way. And so I really want to give back the knowledge, my experience, to those that can benefit from this, but maybe not in the standard way that we see in sort of those larger corporations. So with thinking about operational excellence, I do provide project management as well. There's a lot of ways to tailor these core concepts. There's a lot of ways to take this and make this valuable for you. The other thing I see happen a lot, and I'm sure you've all experienced it, is you go to a conference or you come to a talk like this and you get jazzed, you get excited about something you heard and you think, yes, I'm going to use this, I'm going to do something with it. And then you get back to work and you don't, for whatever reason. Maybe you're too busy, maybe you don't, you forgot. A lot of times I saw people get stuck with, they don't know how. How do I take this? How do I actually put this into my work? And so that's what I help a lot of clients do as well. So not just learning, but how do you actually make this work for you? And again, quick slide, just leveraging my experiences. So we'll talk about these again today, really heavily, not just coming and helping people do work, but I offer teaching and learning upfront. So again, what you're doing today, help people understand, why should I even be doing this? Why do I care? Why is this valuable? What's in it for me, etc. Okay. So I want to hear from you. So I would love you to be brave. I'm going to open my chat box. When you registered for this webinar, it is called Improving Business Operations. We will talk about the difference between that and operational excellence. But when I say that to you now, when you hear those words, I'd love for each and every one of you authentically, what does that mean? Even if it means nothing, what comes to mind? So if you can put in the chat box, not in the Q&A, what does that mean to you? I'm comfortable with silence, even one person. Great. So we see a set of processes and procedures around operations of the business. Thank you, Lindsay. If I say your names incorrectly, I'm sorry. We have improving business and adding more services to grow business. Top-notch customer service. Thank you, Paramajit and Kelsey. Apologies if I got that wrong. Great. So this is, please keep adding to it. I really like this because it goes to show you, excellent, Parth maintaining A in all operations. So this is good because it does mean different things to people, but there are consistencies again around what it does. It means running your business efficiently. Thanks, Audrey. Nice to see you again too. Okay, so let's talk about that. The reason I wanted to do this is because we use a lot of interchangeable language, and sometimes people are saying, well, what scope is that? Which parts apply to me? So when we say improving business operations, the idea is you are striving for some kind of business excellence, right? You're trying to be better. We can't necessarily achieve perfection, but we're always trying to improve what we do. So when we say operational excellence, or when I say that, it means a lot of different things. If you're trying to make a large cultural shift and you're trying to be an operationally excellent company, it may mean that the things you see on the wheel there is you have to spend a fair amount of time, and it's more extensive on each of these parts. However, I would argue, regardless of the scale and scope of your improvements, you'll still want to address all of the things to some degree on this wheel. So what we commonly think of, or what we're commonly taught or know, to improve our operations, we should improve our processes. So our processes are those things that are foundational to our business. They help people do work. They're how we understand how we do work. And ultimately, they're what drives results. So again, a lot of focus on improving processes, which we will talk about today, but we never want to forget about the elements of the people that you employ, your customers. I've seen that in there, the leadership, the culture you have, your values, your beliefs. All of those things will influence how you improve your business. So we'll talk about all those. We'll weave that all in there. But again, I just wanted to highlight process improvement is part of that story. It's not all of that story. So why do this? So one of the taglines in the introduction for this hour today was talking about urgency. We're all busy, we're all overloaded, COVID, we've heard this a million times. The last 2 years have been an absolute roller coaster for everyone. Doesn't matter who you are, what you're doing, it's different. So you might say, well, how can I ask people to do something differently in my business? How can I spend time putting effort into improvement when I'm barely keeping the lights on? So let's talk about that. So I've seen this. I've seen this when I worked for corporations. I've seen this through the clients that I help. There is reward. I promise you, there is reward for your effort. And we'll talk about that. Finding that art, that happy balance is up to you. And it's based on your people, your business, your time, etc. But you will commonly see these things happen that are on the screen. So if you work to improving your processes, again, keeping in mind all of those other aspects, you will see your productivity go up, which typically will translate to increased revenue. Not all the time, there'll be other benefits, but often we do see that is your revenue will go up, whether it's cost savings, additional sales because your customers are happy, more customers, whatever it is you, because of that increased effectiveness and efficiency of your business, you reap the rewards. So for those of you that are trying to grow or scale, or you have, or you are even aware of what that means even for yourself, maybe it's your experiences taking on more clients, is if you have more effective and efficient processes, you're more able to be agile, to make change, to give yourself new abilities and capabilities. Remaining compliant is a big one. So clunky processes, unknown process, a lot of manual duplication, things like that. Frustrated employees, that can often lead to non-compliance because things are missed, things are dropped, they're not understood. And I put this last on the increase list, and it doesn't take away from the importance of it. It's just as important, if not more. Having effective and efficient processes greatly drives up your employee experience. I've felt it. Think about your own jobs. Think back to that one process that just makes you crazy, or maybe it was a company that you worked for and everything was manual and no one knew what to be doing and you wasted so much time back and forth. Even if from a ROI or return on investment cash-wise, your experience matters. Your customer will have better experiences if you have efficient and effective processes. So I never want to take away from that human factor, just like the wheel. Think about your customers, think about your employees. So obviously on the flip side, you will decrease your employee turnover, your risks. Anyone here that does risk assessment or risk management will know the smoother a process is, the less likely you introduce risk into it. Reducing your costs, reducing your errors, human errors, duplication, frustrations, etc. So I'm guessing I don't need to sell you on this. We knew a lot of this stuff, but ultimately what happens is we struggle a bit to want to do this or to put effort in because of those other things we talked about, or we're unsure what the reward is. So that's what we're going to talk about, is how do we actually strive to understanding what the reward is so we can get that buy-in from ourselves and from others that we should be doing this. We should be doing some kind of structured improvement initiatives, actions, etc., to make our businesses better, to make our customers happier, to make them come back. So this is common. We hear this. I've felt this. I'm sure you all have. When I was at Cameco, part of my role in the operational excellence department was actually building a culture of operational excellence. So as you can imagine, and this is just my 2 cents, this doesn't reflect Cameco, is that there was mega resistance. So for a number of different reasons, these were often the root causes. This is what I still see with clients when we first have these conversations. So everyone's busy. I know you know that everyone's overloaded. You don't even know where to start. Maybe that's why you came here today, is because you think, you know, in the back of your mind, there are areas for improvement, but I don't even know what to do, where to start. Or you don't even know there's a problem. We don't even know our processes aren't working, or we have an inkling, but we can't be specific about it. A lot of people, and rightly so, myself in the early years, we don't understand the value or in full of putting this effort in. A lot of times people don't have someone to help them internally. They don't have in-house resources who know how to start, but they also can't afford maybe consultants or contractors to come in. Or frankly, it's just not an area of priority. So from a strategic planning perspective, for whatever reason, your company, your business, it's not where you choose to put effort. It's not an area of focus. So whatever the reasons are, what I want to offer today is there's some ways to address this, and there's some tangible ways to move forward. So this is just something I came up with. So if you try to Google this, or you wonder, you know, ooh, is this from some novel or book or something? No, I did just make it up, but I say that in that I wanted to come up with a framework for you, use some common language to help you understand and to help you remember. So if you want to use other language, if you want to make notes or think about this in a different way, I absolutely invite you to. This is just my framework, my way of communicating. Okay, so we'll talk about these three in detail. Why three? Really, I felt that I could bubble up all of the concepts into these three buckets. So one of the biggest hurdles we have when we're asking people to do something differently, so for any organizational change management gurus out there, or just people experience, we have to help them learn. So why do I care about this? Why do I want to be part of improving our business operations? Why is this important? Why is this important now when we have so many other things on our plate? So we'll dig into that, as that's often the very first steps, is helping people learn and understand. Then, like all of you, as you know, if you've gone out there and pitched for capital for your business, or asked employees to do something differently, or started any initiatives, we need to ensure that we level set. So I did that with you today at the onset, is helping you understand this is for everyone. This is why we're doing that. I want to get that buy-in from you, but I also, to make change, to go and improve initiatives, you need that alignment on some level. So whether it's senior executive, we'll talk about that, grassroots, manager level, there has to be some alignment and agreement that this is a priority. This is what we're doing. This is part of how we work. And then I'll talk about some SMART goals. So for those that don't know what that means, that's specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. We don't want to just go out to our employees, to ourselves, to others and say, okay, we're doing this. I hope it works. See you in a couple of years. We want to set ourselves those milestones, those goals, those measurable posts to understand, are we actually improving? Are we doing things better than we were before? And then lastly, lean. So for any of you that just cringed, I know some people do when they hear lean, or if you don't know what it means, that's okay too. This is just a set of tools and techniques that I'm offering to you. There's a lot of others, and there's a lot more than what we talk about today, but I want to help you think about, how can I do this? Remember back when we talked about, okay, that's, you know, it's great. It sounds, I'm jazzed. I learned this thing. I want to offer ways that you can take back and actually turn your knowledge into action, to help you get that success, to help you achieve that improvement. Okay, so those are the 3 L's. That's what we'll talk through. Again, call it something else. That's absolutely fine. Really, a lot of this mimics the change curve, or how people experience change. Because if you're going to improve your operations, you're doing something different and you're asking people to make change. And one of the biggest things that people need, yourself included, is tell me the why. So help them learn. One of the biggest things is gaining that buy-in. I love the little image in the top right of the slide, the what's in it for me with them, because that is core to human nature. Why should I care about this? What do I get out of this? You know, that might be for your department, that might be for your company, but there's a core need to understand the why first and foremost. What are we going to use to do this? How will this show up in our actions and behaviors? Who's involved in this? Is it just me? Is it you? Is it our department? Is it our whole company? When are we going to be doing these things? What's the urgency? What's the priority? So I love the why, what, how, who, when. I mean, where, of course, that's important too, whether it's at your company, maybe you have different locations, so you want to answer the where as well. I just find it's a really great, fulsome way to think through all of the information that people need to know to truly learn and buy in. So where can you learn? Well, it depends on your business. It depends on who works for you. It depends access to your resources. Like I said, maybe it's a shameless plug, but I do help people learn before I help them implement. So a lot of my clients, whether they asked for that up front, typically what happens is after we talk and they understand the scope of what they're asking people to do, is we have an element of learning. Teaching, facilitating, whether it's a webinar, a lunch and learn, a half day, a full day, something to help people even understand why, what's involved, etc. If you are lucky enough in your business to have in-house resources or people that know how to support improving your operations, leverage them, ask them. They can internally teach you, they can drive work if it's feasible for their role. Of course, there's a ton of things online. So not just using lean, but just about improving operations across the board. So after today, I'm happy to share with you if you want to reach out my favorite references. But again, there's so much out there. I definitely encourage you to go and search this out. And you will get these slides as well. So lots of information here that you can take away in addition to what's on the slide here. Okay, so learning. So we help people learn, you've learned. Now we have some kind of common understanding to some degree about what it takes to improve operations. Again, as I mentioned, I don't know if any of you have ever tried to push an initiative forward or go forward with some kind of work that was not supported, that was not understood, so that you didn't have alignment. It's not that you still can't be successful, but I promise you I've experienced this, and I'm sure you all have, is if you get some level of buy-in and agreement that we are prioritizing improvement initiatives and we are going to support you going forward, again, whether that's leadership, whether that's mid-level management, boots on the ground, doesn't matter. For you, that's up to you, that's the art, but you do want to have some level of that to help progression. You're going to ask people to do work and do different work, and that takes support. Again, I mentioned it earlier, any of you who have been part of strategic planning or any planning for that matter, we want to have some elements of specificity, of measurement around what we're trying to do. So for example, and I'm not saying this is relevant to your business, but when I was part of helping people improve operations, mine site or head office at Cameco, we would have specific and measurable goals. So whether it was saving money by a certain date or it was improving a number of processes by a certain date, it doesn't mean you have to achieve exactly that, but you want to have some kind of post or some kind of future vision that you're trying to achieve. It helps people understand what are we doing and when. We also really want to make sure that whatever you put in place is achievable and relevant. So again, taking into account the resources you have, the business you do, is set people up for success, set yourself up for success. These other two, and this is where I draw on my project management background. I know we all hear the word accountability a lot. It does not matter what you're doing. If you're trying to improve operations and you have some structured processes for doing that, you need to have someone or some people for different parts accountable for the results. Someone needs to own this. If not, what often happens is these initiatives fall off, we don't get support, nobody's tracking progress. So in addition to accountability is make sure people truly understand what's expected of them. Have clear roles and responsibilities when you're setting out to improve your operations. Okay, so that's the level setting part. Now, how do we actually do this? Maybe, hopefully you're not writing emails or sleeping and thinking, okay, get to the good stuff. I do like that level setting piece, but this is now where we dig into the tools, the how. So for those of you that have heard about lean before, that's okay, that's great. If you haven't, that's fine too. Ultimately, what lean is about is reducing waste in your processes so that you can increase flow or you can increase efficiency. So yes, it is about making your processes more efficient, but it's also about a mindset or a way of working. So because I had the wonderful opportunity to be trained in lean and bring that to others and work on a lot of lean projects, it is so drilled into my brain that even when I started my own business, I'm a solopreneur, it's just me, I think about this all the time. Whether it's work with a client or how I run my own business, is I'm always looking for opportunities in there. I'm trying to identify waste, clunky things, things that aren't working, frustrations in people, myself, and trying to make that my overall business and the work I do for clients more efficient. So another part of lean is it's not just about focusing on processes, it's about focusing on people, empowering people to do their own work in better ways for them to be part of this. So some of the negative things around lean, especially in the healthcare industry years ago, is that there's often people feel like it's being done to them. And that's not what it's about. It's about empowering the people, the boots on the ground. So for you that own businesses or have employees, this is about including them. This is about getting them to look for opportunities to improve the work they do. So lean is not about reducing headcount. So I just want to state that I'm choosing to use lean with you today. Again, there's a lot of other opportunities, but this isn't about making your processes more efficient so that people have less to do and you can let them go. If you do that, that's something else. This is about making time for more value add effort. So if we make a process so efficient or processes efficient that people actually have more time on their plates, that's great. Now they can go and work on other things that are valuable versus spending time on duplication, errors, manual processes, etc. So it's not about less employees are needed, which is a funny little acronym. It's also not about blaming people. So I don't know how many of you have had experience where you're talking about a problem that needs to be solved, but what can often happen is there's some finger pointing or there's some blaming of others. And when we look at improving our processes or where we have waste or where we have frustrations, it absolutely is about looking at the process and digging into the root cause of why, but not about blaming. So that might sound maybe silly and basic, but we really need to keep that at the core of our mindset when we're doing this. Otherwise, people will be turned off and they won't want to be part of improvement processes. Okay. So now let's talk about lean. So I think about this. If you were driving a 20-year-old car, so I was going to bring up a car from the 70s or 80s, but I don't want to assume the age of my audience here, but just pretend for some reason your car is 20 years old. It's got 300,000 kilometers on it and the engine falls out. So let's pretend that this fix then is, $2,000 or $3,000. You might ask yourself, why would I put money into something that's not working for me? Previously, it was breaking down all the time. Things weren't working. Yes, it did get you from point A to point B. It got you to work, but it was uncomfortable. Sometimes it wouldn't get you to work. It actually wasn't doing the thing you needed. So why would you go put effort and time and money versus looking at another option that is effective? So maybe you can't afford more than $2,000 or $3,000. Maybe you can purchase still something newer that works more often. That concept is the same as your processes at work. So you don't want to make something more efficient that isn't working. That's wasted effort. So when you're going to look at where you want to make improvement, which processes you want to choose, which functions, first and foremost, make sure they're effective at the core. Are they actually delivering what you want them to do? If they're not, then you need to look at creating something new or a different process or fixing it at a more functional level before you try to make it efficient. If it is a great process in that it's delivering what you want it to do, but there's areas of improvement, then that's when we move to efficiency. So that's what we're going to talk about. So what do we mean when we say efficiency? That means a bunch of different things to a bunch of different people. It's about achieving the maximum productivity with the least amount of wasted effort. So pure waste, again, things like waiting, duplication, errors, scrap, frustrating processes, pieces of processes, wasted money, So it's about working in a well-organized, competent way. It's about increasing that value add time. So I mentioned that earlier. Think about your employees, think about your coworkers, think about yourself, those things that you complain about that don't work well, that you know are a complete waste. A lot of us come up with workarounds, we come up with ways to just get through. But what about if we took time and we focused on making those things go away, or doing it in a way that reduced all those frustrations, that wasted effort? So that's what lean is about, is taking deliberate effort with you and your employees and your coworkers and looking at that process and saying, okay, where are there areas for improvement? What's not working? What is working? Let's keep those things, but let's put some deliberate effort in here to finding solutions to making this more efficient. So I want to caveat this. I want to back up first, because I know sometimes when people see this and it seems very terminology focused from a lean perspective, these again are some selected tools I want to offer for consideration to you, but I do not expect that you have to use this language going forward, or you have to only use these. These are common tools. They're a great starting point. It's what I was trained in, but I use these with my clients. I just don't use this language because sometimes it turns people off. So again, we all have that, right? If you're a subject matter expert and you try to bring something new to people, sometimes we have to think about language. So what I'd like you to take away, at least for today, because we only have an hour and I don't expect you to digest a ton of info in a very short period of time, is think about the core concepts I'm talking about. Think about your own business again. Think about your processes, think about the work you do, and think about the value of what we're going to talk about for you. So again, these are three that I like to bring up because they aren't difficult to do. I facilitate a lot of this activity with clients just to ensure that it keeps moving and that people get out what they want, but anyone can do this. So 5S, if you have heard about it, again, great. If not, it's about making your workspace, your workplace organized. So if you work in an office, if you work from home, if you work out of your garage, if you work at a mine site, if you work at a restaurant, it does not matter. The concept is it's not just about cleaning up for the sake of cleaning up. It's about creating efficiencies and lowering risks by having your environment well organized. So the 5 S's that they use, which are sort, set in order, shine, standardize, and sustain, we'll dig in a bit more. It's just a way for you to remember the process. It's a way for you to dig in and make that environment work more efficiently. It heavily focuses on using visual management. So if we were in a room today, I'd ask you to put up your hands if you're a visual learner. I am. I love pictures. They just, to me, quickly, it's like a story. It helps you understand quickly. It helps you see. So I'm going to do that for you in the coming slides. So coming back to this again is really, how do we help people understand what's expected of them in an efficient way? Visual management is one way. Now, value stream mapping and business process mapping. So we use those interchangeably at times. The benefit of mapping processes, which is what they are, is that we get to see our process. We get to include other people. We get to move things around. We get to see flow. We get to see who's involved. So roles of different people in one short, quick space, then we can dig in. So if anybody here has ever been asked to read a 300-page report in a binder, or has been asked to learn about a new job, let's say your onboarding process, and you're given a network drive and you have to read all the files, how excited are you for that? Probably not very. So process mapping is a way to include people to learn to get all the information out of everyone's heads about from the people who do the work in an efficient and understandable way for everyone. So value stream mapping at a high level is if you want to look at higher level functions within your business. I'm a hand talker, sorry, but I have to do it. Let's say you want to look at, we'll talk about different like payroll function, HR, accounts payable. If you want to look at all of those functions and how they connect between them at a higher level, that's where we use value stream mapping. Business process mapping is typically used when we want to dig into one part or process of a function. So again, in accounts payable, maybe it's invoicing, maybe it's paying your clients or customers. So that's where you can drill in more specifically. Both are very valuable. Typically, they're used interchangeably. It doesn't really matter what you call it. The idea is you do this together, you do this in a visual way. So let's look at those a bit more. You will get these slides after today. So if it seems like I'm going fast, there's a lot of information. I absolutely ask you to go back and dig back in. Once you've digested a little bit, let's look at this detail. So 5S, again, easy words to remember. This is a step-by-step in some ways. It doesn't mean you can't overlap. So again, I'd ask for hands, but I'm sure some of you have seen that Marie Kondo, I think her name is. Sorry if I got that wrong. I don't actually know. I've never watched it, but I think the general idea is you're supposed to throw things out that don't give you joy or you don't use them or something like that. This is kind of the same idea, is you want to sort your space. So again, your office, your building, your restaurant, whatever it is, you should only have the necessary items there in your workplace. So for those of you sitting right now and your foot's on top of a box and you have a stack of papers in the corner and maybe your laptop's turned sideways on a stack of books, really think to yourself, do I need these things? What's the benefit of not having those things that you don't need? You waste time looking for things. It could be a safety hazard. There's a lot of things by keeping waste or things you don't need that decrease your efficiency. They also give you mental clutter. They make people frustrated. So once you actually have the things you need, the ideas, and put them in the proper places, where do they actually go? So everyone, not just you, can find them when they need them. So reducing wasting time looking for things. Shine is, yes, it's about cleaning. And of course, we all like neat and tidy from a mental clutter perspective. But this is also very important in operations from a safety perspective. If machinery is dirty, you often can't see leaks, you can't see problem areas. For those that you present and you plug your laptop in and you have a cord just willy-nilly all over, it's a tripping hazard. So Shine is about being able to identify problems and getting to them before they become hazards, which is wasted time. Corrective action is wasted effort. So standardize and sustain, again, it's about getting these things in order. One of the worst things you can do is put in effort and make things better and walk away. And you don't continue to derive benefits or value from them. So standardizing, again, making it clear, this is how we work. This is what's expected visually. And then how do we sustain that? Putting in standards, putting in reviews, audit, whatever it is to make sure you're still deriving the benefits from all that sort, set and order, shine. So just quickly, here's a few pictures of what this looks like. Might seem kind of silly, but this works anywhere. So in the top left, whenever I see this picture, again, think about your own workspace, think about your home. This just isn't for work. This is for anywhere. Think about your restaurant, think about your retail stores, whatever it may be. The top left picture always makes me laugh because my husband is anal retentive about efficiency. He's got a tool, shadow board, we call this, where everything's outlined. We have everything in its place. So he's thrown out what he doesn't need. He's only got the tools he does need. He knows where they are. This helps build efficiency. Again, right? You're not looking for tools. Maybe you don't cut your hand on a carpet cutter. It's safety. On the top right, this is visual management. This is helping people understand what's expected, where are we at. So again, it doesn't have to be a mining operation. It doesn't have to be a retail operation. You can do this with any of your initiatives, with any of your objectives. What's expected, green, yellow, red, how are we doing, good, not so great, neutral. You can, your own office in the bottom left of that slide, stop tripping over things, looking for papers, binders, taking up space that could be used for more valuable things. So again, that's the core of 5S. So I know I'm going quite quickly. So let's talk about value stream mapping quickly and business process mapping. So I am first going to show you what probably looks foreign and you're thinking, how can I do that? Why is that applicable to me? The concept here to take away is that we can map out, hopefully on a wall or a whiteboard or some large space, first and foremost what our processes are, what our big functions are. How is the IT department working with HR when it comes to hiring new resources? How is then HR connecting back with IT? So you think about the people involved, you think about those big functions, what's happening in between. You can talk about where there's bottlenecks, how much time it takes for each of these steps. And this is your first step in being able to visually and quickly identify with your group, where do we maybe have some areas of improvement? Where's breakdown? Where's frustration? What's working well? So this is what it looks like in real life. This is what I do with my clients. I hope you do this. I do this with my own business. Is you don't need to have fancy technology. You don't have to have a fancy office building with whiteboards lining all the walls. You can buy some butcher paper off of anywhere in the city and get some sticky notes. This is you working with your team now to put the steps in your process up on the wall, to put decision points, different color stickies for frustrations, to talk stickers for waste. It's a quick and easy way, again, for you to work together and align. Imagine if you described a process and your coworker described a process to the same person at separate times. I guarantee you, you both are going to explain it differently. It's the same process, but you're going to have different ideas, different areas of knowledge. That's why you want to get people together and doing this as a group. And alignment. What is actually involved in this process? So in the case of, don't worry if you can't read the words on the screen, you'll get the slide. The important takeaway on the right is you can do this in technology. You can document this once you've gone through talking about your process, putting it up on a wall, hashing it out, finding areas for improvement. But the takeaway here is that you can still look at it across the board. You can look at the people involved, you can look at the different departments, and you can say, okay, now maybe you want to dig in more detail. So this is where business process mapping comes in. Again, you don't have to do one or the other. You can do both. You can do a bit of each. That's up for you. That's an art form that will have to figure out with some help, of course, where you want to focus. But now business process mapping is about digging in to specific processes and specific areas. So when I use that example of, let's say, IT hiring a new person and they have to leverage HR services for that, they may want to look at improving the connection between the two departments. But what might happen is HR might realize in that process, we want to dig into our screening of resumes process to interviews. Something's not working there. There's a lot of delay. There's a lot of frustration. That's where business process mapping, same concept, but you can dig into the details. So on this slide, you'll see we talk about the roles of people. So that's on the left-hand side, who's doing what. We talk about the steps in the process. Those are the blue boxes. We use arrows to show flow. We do this, then we do that, then we do this. We use diamonds or whatever you want as decision points. Where do we have to make decisions about what we do next? And then we can move to identifying those areas that we want to improve. But if we don't do this step first, everyone will have different ideas in their heads about different things going on. And what will often happen is we'll miss opportunities for improvement that are actually quite visibly obvious when you go through this process. If you have people that are quieter in your company, introverts, maybe those nervous to speak up, this process facilitates everyone speaking up. So that's one of the wonderful things I've seen with clients that works is everybody gets a voice. We actually build in structure for voting, dot voting, that everyone gets an opportunity to contribute to describing the process as they know it, but also for opportunities for improvement. So again, this is the first step in just even understanding your current state process, and then you can move to solutioning after digging into the roots of why things are happening. So again, this is what this looks like in real life. You do this up on the wall. You can do this on a whiteboard. It can be two of you, it can be 5 of you, it can be 10 of you, whoever's involved in the process that does the work. Sit down, get your stickies out, map up those steps in your process, map those decision points. Start talking about those areas of frustration, of waste. You can document the time on a sticky. It takes me an hour to do this. We know it should only take we know inherently it should be less, but for some reason it's taking an hour. Put the times on there. Then start using red or green or whatever you want to highlight those bottlenecks, frustrations. Then you can move to root causing and solutioning again. Okay, so I know that was a lot of information very quickly. These are just tools I wanted to share with you today because they facilitate certain behaviors. Whatever you want to use or whatever language you want to use, go ahead. But they facilitate, again, those behaviors of inclusion, of visually seeing what's actually going on before you try to fix something. We inherently always want to fix something or solution as fast as possible. But if we do that, we don't have the information necessarily, or we find less than optimal solutions. It's not that you still can't improve or you'll have some solutions, but this way we can get better ones and we can include people. People want to be involved. Okay. So now I want to hear from you again in the chat. Just going to bring this up. Thank you again for your inputs before. I'd like everyone to at least put in, thinking back to your own work, what do you believe is stopping you or slowing you and your company or your employees from deliberately working on improving your processes, your operations? Please share thoughts. If you're still there. Okay, we have excellent. Thank you, Victoria. Limited time with busy project delivery schedules. Audrey, managing time. Yes, how to implement. Excellent. Any other thoughts? Clutter. Ah, yes. Always seems there's something else that needs to be done or needs doing. Thank you all. And we know that, right? We all feel that. I don't think any of those things, I shouldn't assume, but I'm guessing a lot of this isn't foreign. It's all the things we talked about earlier. We're busy. There's too many other things. I don't even know what to do next. Thank you for your participation. So let's see. And again, I never want to say these are the only. If you're to Google and from experience, these are sort of the top 5 that keep bubbling up, but there are so many more. And so like our process improvements or areas of waste, we have to dig in. We have to understand why before we try to solution, before we try to improve operations. So what I've done for you here is just for consideration is I'll talk about some of those top barriers, and then of the 3 L's, again, there's probably all 3 in every, but the primary L, I guess, that can help us get over these barriers, that can help launch us over those hurdles. So oftentimes what I've seen in my own business, in my own experiences, and I hear this from clients, is that we're very siloed in our groups, in our departments. And so the willingness sometimes to get together, to talk about how do we work together as a group, how can we improve, is less than ideal for people. It requires patience with a lot of uncomfortable situations. Sometimes when we talk about what's working, what's not working, this is why no blame is so key, is we need to break through those silos when we're looking at improving operations, because you all have cross functionality. What you do here affects someone else in their work down the line, and so on and so on. So Lean gives you those tools, that business process mapping, that value stream mapping, call it whatever you want. It gives you that environment that you can have those conversations. It equips you with tools and techniques and structure and process that can neutralize some of that and help everybody get through that, do well, and come out the other end with some solutions and progress. Lack of information. So I talked about buy-in. We talked about all those things that, you know, if people don't know, if they don't understand, that's why we help them learn. Buy-in, again, poor buy-in. We don't have that alignment, that support, again, leadership, mid-manager level, boots on the ground, whatever it is. We do help that through learning, but also level setting. So bringing people together, ensuring you have that before you move forward in doing work. What can be often very, or will inhibit your progress, is just jumping into doing something without really level setting or helping people understand. You can be successful, but you're likely to create situations that are uncomfortable for people. Again, poor planning. So having those SMART goals, right? We want to make sure that we're planning for success and we're helping set people up to be successful. And this is another one, again, I say outdated systems and technology when it comes to lean, and it kind of makes me laugh because all you need are some sticky notes and some butcher paper or a whiteboard and markers. However, taking it forward, being able to store that information, doing stuff with that information, improving your processes, reducing manual processes, that's hard if you have outdated systems and technology. So it doesn't mean you still can't do it, but it makes it more difficult. Okay, we're almost at time. I see I have 8 more minutes of your time. I do want to leave a little bit if there's questions or any follow-up. But in summary, these are the 3 L's. We want to make sure people have the knowledge and tools they need to help you improve your operations, to help move forward. We want to make sure, again, we get that support, that priority, have SMART goals, something specific, measurable, that's actually achievable, relevant, and you have some set time frame around it so it doesn't go on forever or just fall off the map. Help people understand what's expected, clear roles and responsibilities around this, and then use some structure, use some tools or techniques. I'm sure we've all been at a meeting where we just talk endlessly about things, and that's good. That's a start. It brings awareness, but we actually have to have some kind of structured process or tools or expectations to make successful change. So now what? You listen to Amanda talk for 53 minutes, dear Lord. I hope you derived some value out of it. I always have a call to action in everything that I do. I want you to actually tangibly start thinking about what you heard and what you can do going forward. So yes, please learn more. Of course, I say that I'm biased. I find this topic dreadfully exciting and I read about it all the time and I do the work. If you know about this or the things you learned today, share that with other people. Leverage the people you have in-house again. If you know there's people with these capabilities, get them involved. So what I'd like you to do, if you have a piece of paper, because they say we're more likely to retain information if we write it versus type it, or a Word document, I want you to truly think about what you heard, go back to the slides later, and think about 1 or 2 things you can do in the near term with this that could benefit you, your department, your group, your business, your employees, to start you in the direction of getting you into those incremental improvements. So of course, I'd love for you to follow up with me. I love to have these discussions. I love to help in any way possible. If you feel like you didn't derive value today, I absolutely want you to tell me that and let's talk some more. So thank you. I just want to say thank you to Wesk, to Ali and Josie for this opportunity. My contact information is there. This will be shared. And now I'd love if there's any questions. I think, Ali, we have about 5 more minutes. So in the chat, in the Q&A box, chat box, correct? I think she's still there. If not, I have the Q&A open.
Yeah, if anyone has any questions, feel free to put them in the Q&A box or in the chat box. And if you can't think of anything to ask, Amanda did put her information up on there so you can contact her afterwards. You'll also get a copy of this presentation along with Amanda's info in your email tomorrow, so you can follow up there as well. Give a couple minutes here to see if anyone has any questions.
Yeah, I'll just assume it was super digestible and everybody was totally clear. Just kidding. But if you do have questions, absolutely. But like Ali mentioned, please reach out. I know a lot of times I attend things like we were talking about earlier, and it takes a little while to sink in and then you think of something. So please definitely keep it going. Silent group, maybe they went back to lunch. Oh, Karen says, thank you. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, everyone. I really appreciate your time today. And like I said, I do hope you derived a nugget of value, whatever that is, and something that can take you forward and help you in your business, whatever you do. Thanks all.
Okay, well, thank you, Amanda, for that presentation. We really appreciate it. And like I said, this was recorded, so it will be up on our website by end of day today. You'll get a link tomorrow. And thank you again to everybody who participated and showed up today. We appreciate you as well. So thank you so much, Amanda. Thank you, everybody, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, Allie. Thanks all.